One of the most powerful quotes I hold on to this very day is that you do not choose where you start, but you always choose where you finish. And that is the beauty or maybe the disaster of this life, right? Is that the sequence of choices that you make on a consistent basis that then become your habits, which then becomes your character, will determine your future, where you're heading, or at the very least, the direction that you're going to be moving towards. Is it going to be more positively inclined or negatively inclined? And so you have situations where people start from seemingly nothing, right? Some of the most harsh conditions, they grow up in whether third world developing nations or they grow up in the hood, the projects, the ghetto, Section 8 housing, whatever it may look like, and they rise up out of those situations and they make something of themselves. And there's nothing more beautiful than seeing that type of rags to riches sort of story, right? It is a beautiful thing to see. I love to see anybody succeeding. I love to see somebody who came from, relatively successful family, then succeeding to even greater heights or finding their own space in the world and occupying that with conviction, confidence, and authority. But when you see somebody with nothing, coming from the bottom of the barrel, it is the most inspiring thing. That's why we love those type of movies, etc. However, I have noticed this. It's that there are those who become successful, and I've noticed that it's coming from a very specific demographic. Now, I could easily just say from the quote unquote black community, but unfortunately, there really isn't much community to speak of. But instead, it's like there's fragmented aspects of what was maybe more cohesive community. There are those who are with the foolishness and those who are not for the foolishness. And even the environment doesn't dictate that, right? In the same projects, you could have the kid who's looking to get a 4.2 GPA, looking to get a perfect score on their SAT, looking to get in the best university and to carry forward and to completely crush it in life when it comes to maybe corporate job or starting their own business or whatever that may look like. Then you have the kid who aspires to become the Pablo Escobar of their neighborhood, right? You have the big Meeches of the world who aspire to essentially become the biggest dope boy and, make the most amount of money and create the most lavish lifestyle, right? Both individuals grow up in the same environment, but are making different choices. So when you are a child, you obviously do as a child does, and you follow along with, whatever your environment is feeding you in more cases than not, or maybe you happen to be more introspective. You're able to see things with hindsight, foresight, oversight, and so you make different decisions, right? You grow up around alcoholics, you choose never to drink, like maybe a Kendrick Lamar or a Logic or something like that, right? Or you grow up in the alcoholism and you choose to become exactly what your environment is. But then there comes a time later in your life, or at least you grow out of that childhood, you become an adult. And what's supposed to happen is that you mature into adulthood. And so you find that there's a host of these successful young men who come from these sorts of environments that for some reason seem to be unable to shake the hood off of them. Right. And when I say the hood, I'm meaning a level of psychology, a mentality that they move with, a ghetto mentality, a criminal mentality, a criminal culture, whatever you want to label it as, it's the same thing. You have these guys, the Kodak Blacks of the world, who get out in the environment, the Lil Durks of the world, get out of the environment, make millions of dollars, are afforded the opportunities that they could not fathom, and yet they're unwilling. I'm not going to say unable, because that's a lie. That discredits every person who came from that environment, changed their life, and changed it for the better, and never returned to where they once came, right? But there are individuals who are unwilling to part ways. Now, the reason all of this even came up is because I saw this short of YG, who was an artist that I used to listen to all the time back in the day when I was trying to, fit that stereotype. I was trying to be about that life. I saw a video of YG rolling dice with the homies, with Mozzie, and I'm from the Bay Area, so I had an affinity for Mozzie as well. It's a California thing, but not just a California street culture thing. But I saw this video, and, we're going to play it out, and then I'm going to explain exactly why this was a perfect example of the point I'm hammering home right now.
Look at the officer. Don't talk to me, nigga. Go ahead. Come! Hit his ass, Dice. What you doing, man? Yeah, what? What you want to bet it? Oh, you saw what I just hit, right?
So here's the thing. For anybody who doesn't know, that's not just, a little innocent game of dice. That is a symbol, an emblem of sorts of street culture, right? Hitting dice. Now, YG has been rich for a very long time. And not only has he been rich for a long time, according to himself as well as Forbes list, etc., but he has been a part of corporate America for quite a while now. Maybe since he was 19 years old when he broke into the industry. So he's been in and out of, let's say, Capitol Records or, Warner, Sony, one of the big, UMG, whatever it may be, right? I don't know what label he may be on or even started on, but he has been exposed to the corporate world. He has lived in multi-million-dollar mansions in suburbs. He has been surrounded by the wealthy elites for millennia at this point, right? YG does not live in the hood. He does not live in Crenshaw, Slauson, Inglewood, whatever neighborhood he may hail from. He may come from, grew up in, was exposed to as a child. He is likely on Rodeo Drive, right? Likely was in Malibu or these places, before they unfortunately burnt down. But the life that YG lived for the last at least 10 to 15 years has not been what he is still looking to portray and project to the world, right? He still wears colors that represent Bloods, which is the gang affiliation that he still holds so close to his chest. Like, I imagine a scenario where YG, is big stepping, right, through the hallway, Universal Records, or I guess Universal Global, and then maybe a subsidiary, maybe Capitol Records or something. Steps in the hallway. Hey, what up, cuz? What up? Well, what up, Blood, technically. So, what up, Blood? What up, Blood? What up, Blood? Blah, 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 right? He got his Cortezes on. He's walking with the feet like this, right? Pigeon-toed. Or maybe, is that the opposite of, this is pigeon-toed, right? So he got the opposite pigeon-toe going on, walking around like this, right? And leaning like a Dan Cholo. What up, Blood? What up, Blood? Got his all red on, saying no words that start with a C, right? Hey, can you hand me that butt right there? Can I hand you the what, sir, Mr. YG? That butt right there. The butt. The butt? He means the cup. Oh, the cup. Hey, what I say? I said butt, cuz. Whoa, I mean blood. I mean, this man is walking into a meeting filled with corporate types. Okay, so what we're thinking for the promotional tour for the next project, My Brazy Life, is possibly for you to maybe go to a few charities in the hoods of America, and then we'll stop at a few liquor stores that we will make sure to frequent in order to solidify the reputation. Like the life he is living on a day-to-day basis is so separate from the hood, and if he did live in the hood or go back, he would end up like a Pop Smoke. He would end up like a Nipsey Hussle, right, who was trying to help to build the hood, who was coming back to his own block and they want to take his life, because most rappers will lose their lives in the place that they're from, these gangster rappers, right? These individuals who put out that image and project that energy and put that dark, violent energy into the world, oftentimes get it back, and they find it within the place that they grew up. That's where the most jealousy, animosity, and envy exists. And that's exactly what we have here with Mr. My Brazy Life. He's throwing dice backstage. He's got a concert. He's getting paid $100K, $50K, whatever it is that, his booking price now is. And you got Mozzie, who I know spent a little more time in the Bay Area and active in the streets and things of that nature, but has now had an opportunity to change his life. And yet you can see that they're so entrenched in this lifestyle. Some people are going to say, well, you're being ignorant. You don't understand. Like these people, it's like this is all they've ever known. No, it's not what they've ever known. Most of these people you're talking about or you're seeing here have traveled the world 100 times over at this point. At least YG. In that entire room, at least YG has traveled the world 100 times over. He has gone to Brisbane. He has been to, to Brussels. The man has been to Dublin. The man has been to, he's seen Machu Picchu. You know what I mean? Like things that most people couldn't even fathom. Has seen money that people can't even fathom, sort of wealth that people can't even imagine, has been exposed to elements that other people would just, like kids in the hood would be dying to be exposed to. And yet he continues to choose to cling on to this. And that's the biggest problem. We have individuals who are choosing the hood mentality. They are choosing this. I used to have such deep sympathy as well as a mixture of empathy because I remember what it was to try to fulfill this stereotype, try to be this thing that would get me noticed, that would get me, to be a part of the collective, that would get me to be accepted. I was afraid to be my nerdy self, afraid to be my eclectic, weirdo self. And so, I became a dope boy. I was slanging, I was using, I was moving around in certain ways. But then there came a point where I had to choose. There were kids who were around me who never grew up really to be men, but that came from those elements and they chose to be consumed by those elements. And the few who got an opportunity to get out of it, I could see how some were so attached to the ego aspect, to prove something, to be seen as hard, like I'm somebody, right? You're going to see me, you're going to respect me. And unfortunately, we see this a lot in the so-called black community. There's this, it's maybe an equivalent of like machismo type of energy within the Hispanic communities, right? Mexican community, whatever it may be, where there's this feeling of, man, I got to show you like I'm a man, I'm a real man. And so you have no true ability of conflict resolution. Do you not know that Takeoff from the Migos, who, essentially could have become the quote unquote Black Beatles, right? The hip hop equivalent, I guess you would say. That probably offended a lot of people out there. That's on you. But you have one of the members, likely the most talented, the one who even brought the group together, the youngest member, right? The nephew of one of these, I think it was Quavo's nephew. He lost his life at a dice game. These are multi-millionaire men who have businesses. They're the sole providers of not just mother and father and, brother, sister, children. Hopefully you better be taking, your children should be first. Wife and children should be first. And then everybody else comes second. I don't care what anybody says. Those should be your first when it comes to financial provision. But they're taking care of mama, sister, brother, cousin, this one. And they throw all of that away so they can be connected to the elements. Don't forget where you came from. You know who came up with don't forget where you came from? Somebody who wants you right back where they are at. The person who wants to see you back in the hood with them. Nah, this nigga, he forgot who he is. He forgot where he came from. I don't want to remember the hood. I don't want to remember being from the slum. Like my people came from a third world country, and they did not do that in order to then replicate the very same thing on the other side. My pop's growing up in the ghettos in the middle of apartheid. He didn't go through that so he could step on the other side and be the very thing he grew up around, still fighting folks as a grown man. Still having all types of beefs with people, still speaking in a certain way, moving in a certain way. I even had to make sure, sometimes I was showing up on videos just as I was. I'll wake up and I just had inspiration. I'm in a tank top beater and, I got a do-rag on to preserve my haircut, or maybe I'm too lazy to damn show my hair, so I just put a do-rag on. I wasn't trying to actually put on a caricature, even though that would have been brilliant, probably marketing. But, then a few people brought it to my attention like, yo, image. My ego said, nah, I'm going to do what I want. But then I said, you know what? You're right. Because there's going to be people watching, kids watching, et cetera, exposed, and I can make the difference. I like a little chain, a little whatever. This is fake. These ain't real, right? I like the look of it. I do like gold. And as I get my money all the way up, or even if people gift me, I'll take the real gold. I'm not about to drape myself. I'm not about to goddamn, you know what I mean? Folks, you hear these rappers walk around, all you hear is clink, 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 clink. Even interviews. Sounds like ice cubes. Maybe that's the point. Maybe they want to sound like ice cubes. See these ice cubes? See these ice creams? A triple bachelor. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Y'all know nothing about that. And if you do know nothing about that, then you're probably better off, to be honest. You're better off, because that's exactly what we're talking about here. Snoop Dogg, you are 750 years old, sir. Why are you still talking about gangbanging? Crips, and why are we still talking about cripping at 67 years old? It is the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. When I see a whole entire grown man, a grandfather, and he's talking about what up, blood, what up, blood, what up, cuz. Now you can say, well, this is a young man. No, YG is a grown man. He's been a grown man for a long time. He would tell you he's been a grown man for a long time, providing for his family, etc. And it's not to pick on him. This ain't just about him. Again, it's about the entire cultural acceptance of that mentality. You know, I wish I could just stop talking about, well, I don't wish I could stop speaking on it. I just know it's a necessity to. I wish it wasn't a thing to talk about. That's what I'm trying to say. Like this wasn't an issue, but it is, and it's prevalent. And again, we see it in specific demographics. When I say demographic, I'm not just talking about ethnicity, oh, just black people, because there's a lot of black folk who are not down with that, who see that and are embarrassed. I cringe when I see that right now. As a 29-year-old man, just turned 29, shout out to my birthday, February 14th. Thank you to everybody, by the way, wish me a happy birthday. Love y'all, appreciate y'all. But there should be some sort of visceral reaction when you're somebody who came from those elements and got out of them, or you're seeing them and you're so separate from them, right? Like, what are we doing? It's all for show. If we really, I mean, I don't know who it's show. Maybe it's to show the dudes around him, whatever. I'm still real. I'm still down. I'm still with it. But it's all for show. And this is the lightest aspect, at least you would think. You know, not in the case of an Offset who ends up, or Takeoff who ends up losing his life to this, but, or at least in the context of that. But to be in the hood element, I got to be back in the hood. I got to be tapped in. I got to be tied in. I got to be locked in. You know what I mean? 10 toes in the soil. These are Bay Area type of things. Like, no, you don't. You don't owe the hood anything. The hood looked to consume you. It looked to destroy you. The hood never loved you or anything. It can't. It has the inability to love. It has the inability to care, right? It is concrete. It is cold. It only promotes ego, and ego only promotes one thing, pride, which leads to your fall. So we do better than this right here. And how do we do better? By choosing different. You get an opportunity, you seize it. You get an opportunity, you hit. You have that hit. You have the box, right? You have a Roddy Ricch moment. Get out the damn hood and never come and never look back. Create institutions, structures outside of those environments that you can then bring the people who are ready to be taken out. Like people ready to let go of that mentality, you put them in position. That's why just pouring money into the hood never works. You're pouring money into an ecosystem where at least half the people have a mentality that is too scarcity driven, too poverty, too survival based. But there are kids in that space. There are, adults in that space who have ideas, who have innovations, who have things they want to do and create in this world, who have positive impact they want to make. Invest into them. You want to take your millions and do something, don't go in the hood and flex your goddamn new car or whatever it is. Buy all your homies some chains. That sounds a lot like slavery. Buy your homies some chains. Interesting. No, go ahead and create opportunities and then let them build on that. And that's a gift. When somebody makes you responsible, my parents raised me to know that, look, we took care of you because it was our job. You don't owe us anything. But the things I want to do is out the kindness of my heart. And because I don't feel indebted, but I feel appreciative of the things that they did for me. I am thankful for the things that they did for me. And so I am willing and more than appreciative or more than honored to be able to do things for them as they age, right? To be able to take care of things. When I can buy the house off, I'm gonna buy the house. When I can do this, do that, but I know they're also responsible. I'm not throwing pearls to swine here. I'm not just wasting away resources. But again, we can be more intelligent with the way we move when we prioritize intelligence. When we prioritize not that, but instead, it's like instead of celebrating the dude who came out of jail or is celebrating a jail culture, we're celebrating the kid who is building the very opposite, who's making sure that track never has to be a choice again for him or her or their descendants. That's what we're promoting now. That's what we're stepping towards. That's what we're celebrating. That's black, that's white, that's anybody in between.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 3-6-5, that's a full rotation.